So Simon Sinek said something in a talk that has been sitting with me for a while now. He said most things break in the middle. And what he meant is that when you promote someone into a leadership role, you just expect them to figure it out. Nobody trains them. Nobody shows them how to lead, right? They were really good at doing their job. So now they are in charge of the people who are now doing that job. And then everything breaks. And when I heard that, I thought, yes. But I also thought, I see this exact same thing happen every time a founder hires an executive assistant. They found someone great, they bring them on, and just expect the whole thing to sort itself out. And when it doesn't, they think they hired the wrong person. But here's what I've seen play out over and over after 13 years of doing this work. Most of the time, the hire is not the problem. The structure going in is the problem. And that structure starts with the founder. His point is not that middle managers are bad people. His point is that we take someone really, really good at their job, put them into a completely different role, and give them zero training for the new one. And so they just keep doing what they know because nobody taught them how to do the new one. Now, here's how I see the same thing play out with founders and executive assistants. For years in my own business, I was wearing every single hat: the founder and CEO, CMO, CFO, COO. All of that was me. And because I was doing everything, nothing was documented, nothing was systematized. I was winging the process instead of building frameworks and building structure. Every decision, big or small, had to come back to me because there was no structure telling anyone else what they are responsible for. That was on me. I had built it that way without realizing it. And so, what do founders do when they finally hire an EA? They keep doing. They hand the EA leftover tasks, the stuff with no context, no clear outcome, the stuff that still lives entirely in their head. And then they wonder why they still feel like the bottleneck. I had a founder who once trialed our services and told me he felt like he was creating work for his assistant. He said that he did not feel like he was truly leveraging the support. And the reason was not the support. It was that he had never stopped long enough to figure out what truly needed to come off his plate. So he handed over the wrong things and nothing changed. And then there is this founder who believed that technology will solve it. Before we worked together, he had tried AI assistant tools. And what he found was that AI always got something confused. It misclassified emails. It missed nuance. It could not make the right judgment calls. And when he tried to just manage everything himself, it became, in his words, a total mess. He said he kept feeling like he was letting people down, like he was dropping the ball constantly. And here's what both of those have in common. They both still make the founder the bottleneck. The structure never changes. So Simon also talks about the idea of being the leader you wish you had. You have to decide early on the kind of leadership style you want to embody. And what I've truly come to believe from watching this play out on both sides, first as an EA and now as someone running her own EA agency, is that leadership is not about telling people what to do. It is supporting them to succeed. Because here's what I see a lot. Founders who genuinely care for their business and their team, and then they bring in an EA and lead that relationship completely in a transactional way. They show up with a task list. They do not share context. They do not communicate their priorities clearly. And they do not invest in understanding how the person thinks and works best. And then they are surprised when an EA feels just like an order taker and nothing feels like it is really working. The difference between a transactional EA and a truly relational one is not about the EA. It is the kind of leader the founder chose to be in that relationship. And I want to be honest here because I have made almost every single mistake myself. I became the answer to every question because I never gave my team a clear framework for what they could decide on their own. I delayed hard conversations because they were uncomfortable and watched situations get worse for longer than they should have. And what correcting all of that has taught me is that Simon is describing doesn't just live in the middle management. It lives in every founder who has ever hired support without thinking clearly about what their own role needed to become in that relationship. Because when you hire an EA, your role changes. You are now responsible for making sure another person can do the work really well without you being pulled into every decision. And most founders, myself included, for a long time, were never trained for that. Good looks like a founder who gives their EA context, clear priorities, a communication rhythm that truly works, and the willingness to let go of small things so they can focus on only what they can do. A client said it in a way that really stayed with me. He said working with the right support meant his bandwidth has expanded, that he was capable of doing more, making better decisions faster. And that happens because the relationship is built on real clarity, real communication, and real trust. So the next time you feel like your EA relationship is not working, sit with this before you do anything else. Am I leading this relationship? Am I giving this person everything they needed to succeed? Or am I just handing over tasks and hoping it will sort itself out? Because Simon is right that things break when people step into new roles without being prepared. And in this world, that is just as true for the founder as it is for the hire. The relationship only works when both people are clear on what their job is. And for the founder, it's not just about delegation, it is leadership. If this landed for you, make sure you subscribe because this is exactly the kind of conversation I want to keep having on this channel. And if you want the practical side of this, how to hire, how to onboard, and how to build that relationship from day one, I have videos on all of that, and I will link them right here. I will see you in the next one.